This is Brownie's Podcast!
Welcome to Brownie's Podcast. Sweet God, what a last round to end the season. Jonathan Brown's here. Campbell Brown's here. I'm here. Dean Thomas. Broads, hello.
Hello, boys.
Beck's in the studio. Has she conquered golf? That's what everyone wants to know, Beck.
I have actually, playing in the storm, so...
Okay, all right,
Well,
that's dangerous.
It's a sign of a good golfer, getting out there, perfecting a swing in the storm. She's actually had videos, showing me videos this morning, Dina, of her work on the weekend. She's putting a golf club down on the ground just to make sure her alignment is spot on. So, you've got a very nice swing. I think you can make it.
Thank you,
You'll make
JB.
it eventually. It's something in life.
Thank you.
Becca, lightning and holding metal golf clubs is a real, it's a powerful combination. Hey, this round sucked until we saw the Hawks humiliate the Kangaroos, which again, Dog and JB, I don't think you're talking them up enough. I know you like finals is different, but they are humiliating teams.
We'll get to the Hawks eventually. They've got the most exciting player in the competition. He's my new favourite, Josh Weddle.
Oh, yeah.
Mate, how good's Josh
Oh,
Weddle?
yeah.
He is. Talk about the Hawks being the Harlem Globetrotters. Well, who was the biggest star of the Harlem Globetrotters? Because that is Josh Weddle. He can play back. He can play forward.
Yep.
He can play in the ruck.
He's got speed too. He puts his Weddle to the metal.
Well
doesn't
done,
he?
mate.
Sorry,
Well done, mate.
That was a Dwayne
Jeez, that was
Russellism.
good.
Wasn't very
Mate, how
tight
exciting is he? They won by 120 points in the wet.
Yeah,
in the driving rain.
3 weeks ago, this round 24 looked like it could be all time, and it was an absolute fizzer until the last two games of the round, wasn't it? Isn't it vastly glaring when a side's checked out and they're playing for nothing, right, against sides that have actually still got their intensity, because Melbourne were done and dusted very early
Well,
on
that's
Friday
why
night.
the wild card round should be in.
agreed.
Hey,
It'll come in next year, JB.
It has to. Talk about a succulent matchup this weekend. Thanks to Jack Carlton. The wild card round this week would be Hawthorn versus Fremantle, Carlton v Collingwood. Could you imagine that? Carlton v Collingwood Friday night would be Saturday Arvo, Hawthorn Fremantle. It would be amazing the way it currently stands, 7v10, 8v9.
North, they started their Mad Monday Saturday afternoon. The Eagles had completely checked out.
Yeah.
Richmond were just hanging on. Essendon, not great, were they? The Sydney-Adelaide game was bruise-free, uncontested football. The Swan,
Melbourne Collingwood.
I'm glad we got
nothing.
something out of yesterday, mate, because the Doggies GWS game was huge. Into the Carlton game, and then into, obviously, the decider over in the West.
It didn't end up as big, though, because I feel as if GWS, be interesting to see what their planning was, because they knew that, even though they're going to finish top four,
Didn't matter.
Even though they lost, they're going to be playing Sydney Swans, who they'll back themselves in, and that means they don't have to travel.
Yep.
So they pulled out Toby Bedford and Brett Daniels,
Yep.
two of their most important players, just before the game. So that tells me they're going, hey, let's just keep our powder dry and go there. And by the way, who scheduled the last game of the year, which looked like the best matchup,
Mars.
in Ballarat, Mars
yeah.
Stadium? Like,
Yeah,
honestly,
that's
it was
bad.
blowing a gale. It was about a 50-kilometre-an-hour wind. There was potentially lightning. Whoever scheduled that probably needs to be shot.
Wait.
Line them up and shoot them, like the Bali
Devil's
Nine.
advocate. Devil's at the Bali. Devil's advocate. I thought it was cool to see a game in a oval like that actually had stakes. I thought it was the opposite.
Not sure. With the wind, though, was just playing havoc. The players were all over the shop. Beck was trying to put up with it with the golf course. But honestly, these players out there, you've got to put it under the lid or put it at a decent venue. Well, not that I'm knocking Ballarat people and I'm not knocking Mars Stadium, but you have to know that there's a reasonable chance it's the windiest ground in Australia.
Yeah, not
It's
round
out in the
24.
open.
Not round 24.
No
Do it
way.
round 22 or 3.
Because that would have been the Friday night clash otherwise. But
no
they've
doubt.
obviously
Yeah,
got to
true.
and going, shit, we can't play that on
Do you know
a
who
Friday
takes the
night in
piss out of everyone more than anyone else? It's
Lance
GWS,
Whitnell.
the GWS social media team. So they do a post a couple of hours before the game. Jesse Hogan could be a laid out. He's missed the team bus. And there'd be people out, like I read it and immediately knew they were taking the piss. But there would have been people out there, like Tom Brown's fake account, right?
Yeah.
that read it and like they blow their mind, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
great
Also-
support from you folks.
No, they actually do, because it's a good point that you bring up,
They're
because
great.
remember, Remember what happened last time with Toby Green and Isaac Keaney?
Exactly.
So the Isaac Keaney had to come out and put the apology. Toby Green did a piss take one. Obviously, the
They're
Giants
very
media
good.
put it up.
I don't know who runs it, but kudos.
Are they going to double down, though, against Sydney?
Oh, I
Because
think
they're
so.
playing each other.
Yeah.
Will they double down?
Just depends. I think they'll probably want to just smooth sailing for the next couple of weeks.
Okay, right.
While we're doing social media people shout outs, obviously Beck, you're amazing. The Carlton one, did you see the image they had of the in excess screenshot, never tear us apart, and then the volume up was so hard that it was going off the screen?
Was it? I didn't see
so
that.
good.
I just thought-
outstanding.
Unbelievable roller coaster of emotions, though, wasn't it? I witnessed it through my daughter Olivia, who she was up and down like the Big Dipper there at Luna Park. She was screaming, and then she wasn't, and then she gave me no response on the text. So I was airwaves, radio silence. I copped for about 2 hours. She wouldn't respond back to the text, and then all I could hear was her just screaming for Port Adelaide in the afternoon.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So many people were barracking for Port; they'll never have that level of support again. But the Moyer goal gave them hope. The Motlop goal gave them belief, and all I remember as the clock ticked down from a minute to 40 to 30 stoppage in the half-forward flank. My mate sat there, and he said, "Not like this. Don't do it. Not like this again, right?"
Yeah.
And then Higgins snapped that goal, right? And I felt like they were going to lose, and sure enough, like,
Absolutely, they did. And I think they've only got themselves to blame. They had Campbell, who would have put them 10 points up.
Yeah.
25 metres out
Over.
directly in front. He misses that, and then it goes down the other end. That was a double stoppage. It was 2 stoppages in a row. They had time to set up. They didn't have a loose man back. It was Akers that made a mad scramble back to take that mark. So it was a poor setup and poor organisation. I know they've got a lot of players out. The one positive is they've made it, though. And just speaking to Vossy this morning, he reckons there's a fair chance I'll have 7 or 8 changes. They'll have 7 or 8 players
Sakurno,
back in.
Mackay will come back
All the
in.
big guns are back into the side. So that's going
Different
to be
colour.
hard for Carl. That's going to be hard for the Brisbane Lions to plan against. They beat the Brisbane Lions at opening round up there at the Gabba. They've played in a big final there last year. So, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Carlton can go up and upset Brisbane. There is some comparisons potentially to the Western Bulldogs in 2016 when they took advantage of that bye weekend,
Yep,
Brown Dog.
they did.
When they end up with 5 of their best players come back
it
in.
was the first year the AFL had brought the bye round in, and geez,
That's right.
did it help them?
It helped them a lot. The only thing is, though, Carlton have lost 3 out of their last 4. That year, the Bulldogs had won 3 out of their last 4. So you wouldn't say they're exactly shooting the lights out.
How would you see St Kilda's season? Because they've finished the year 11 and 12.
Yeah.
They finished with back-to-back wins, and they actually started to play some half-decent offensive football. Do you give Rossi a pass?
Absolutely, I do.
Really?
Well, I give him a pass because the way they finished the year off and they built towards next year. He stated 8 weeks ago, we are building towards next year. We're going to build momentum. And the players carried that through. I think
Richmond and a desolated Carlton, though, to finish.
Decimated.
Isolated. Edit that out, please.
No, that is never coming out.
The desolation was just so high.
Decimated.
I like it.
Carlton side. So they finished with a high, but they didn't beat much to finish the year.
No,
But
well, it's interesting. I think they beat Geelong comfortably last week. They were very good there. I think they've had some good wins. They were disappointing against Brisbane, but I feel like they're building towards something. They still need an upgraded midfield, Brown Dog. So they're going to need a good off-season. Now, whether they can get some established players to come to their footy club is going to be interesting. What about the Richmond? Richmond, they're going to gut their whole team.
yeah.
Well, Liam Baker,
Yep.
Shai Bolden,
Yep.
Rioli.
Rioli,
Graham.
they'll go.
No, I think Graham might stay. And then you throw Pickett's retired, Dusty's retired, Grimes is retired. There's 6 changes potentially already. They won't even need to delist too many players. You know what I mean? Because
You know what I found out today, though? What's disappointing? The one area of the ground you think they'd be decent at, with Hopper and Taranto coming in, Nankervis, Shea Bolton's there, Liam Baker floating through, Jack Graham. They're the worst centre bounce team in the competition.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse for that. I know they've had a few injuries, but they're going to have to gut the list. They're in bad shape, Richmond. No question about that. And Tom Lynch is on about over $1 million a year, and he's sitting in the grandstand.
yeah.
Hey, let's go. We're not moving on from the Carlton Saints game. So Carlton had that chance to ice it, miss it. It goes down the other end. Saints have a chance, a set shot to win it, miss it. The the cortisol flowing through like Dave Hughes. Did you see his Instagram yesterday? That poor son of a bitch was just losing his mind. And then that little miracle of a man who's got an footy IQ of 4,000, Jack Higgins. He does that a lot, John.
Yes, he's a very good
genius.
footballer. He misses the most simple set shots, and then he kicks unbelievable goals. He's a great little footballer, and
Mate.
you wouldn't have wanted it in anyone else's hands if you're a Carlton player. As soon as that was a pretty tough shot, right? As soon as he got his hands on the footy and got it to his boot, you just knew it was going through to break every single heart.
Just beyond Lewis Reed.
Great theatre sport.
What I've always wondered, right? You know how some players are much better on the run than they are from a set shop, like walking in. Why don't those players that are so much better on the run actually just run in? Why don't they have a Ben Brown type run up and sprint in and then try and kick it?
I think in Jack Higgins' case, he does. When he does a set shot and does it in the snapping motion, he's actually one of those players I think's better snapshot, set shot. And he did that in the third quarter. He kicked one from about 45 metres out on a 45-degree angle, but he did in the snapping motion. It was magnificent. So it was a great game. It was great to watch. There was great theatre around it. What about the water bottle in the back of the head?
That's just ridiculous. That's so unacceptable.
John, you must have some mail on that. They must have the person, right? I think they did a runner, BT said on the commentary.
Face recognition will get him.
Something,
all
right?
the stadiums have got face recognition technology.
Yeah, you would have thought it'd be.
My mate got banned for 7 years. He tried to sneak into the G one day and they got him on face recognition.
But he ran out of the stadium.
Wait. You don't get a 7-year ban just for trying to sneak in. What else did your idiot mate do is my
I think
question.
he'd been involved in a melee at Etihad Stadium many years ago. And,
it was Mal, wasn't it?
No,
that's why I don't never see Mal
it
at the
wasn't
footy.
Mal, but you can't sneak in because they get you, like as you're walking through customs.
Oh, really?
Kind of cockhead?
Because I was thinking like that. How do they actually identify if you get a life ban? How do they identify if you dress up?
I don't think Adelaide Oval are up to that level of technology yet. But
at most nightclubs, your photo will sit in the booth where you pay your entry, and if your photos, there's like almost a glory wall. But after about a year, in my experience, you get taken down from that, and then as soon as that's down, you're back in there, baby, and they let you in every time.
Crown have got it. Mate of mine tried to go to a lunch at Crown. It'd been a few years, and came and he got in, sat down at the table, and half an hour in, got a tap on the shoulder. Can you come outside for a chat? They took him outside. And they said, mate, you're banned from Crown. He said, yeah. And they said, well, mate, get out, right? So they can get you, but Dino, on your point, they'll get the guy and they should get life. You can't be throwing bottles at,
I should line him up beside the bloke that organised that last game in Ballarat, GWS and Bulldogs, and shoot them both.
It was the trajectory of it too. It wasn't like a lob. It was like a dart at the guy's head. And his head's pissing out with blood.
He got subbed out.
He did get subbed out.
His little green hat was all red. The poor bastard.
I know. What about the sub goal umpire? Can't believe they had a sub goal umpire. That'd be the equivalent of being an airport firey. Yeah. Airport fireman, wouldn't you? You always wonder, what do those guys actually do? Do they ever get the call up?
Yeah.
They just do drills all day.
Well, they did when Pan Am 103 hit the deck that day.
Yes.
Yeah, great day in aviation history. Now let's.
How can I remember that sort of shit? But I can't say a word like desolate.
Listen to me. We're not moving on. Did you guys see the footage of the Dockers fans watching that at Optus Oval, John?
No, it was amazing. What a roller coaster. I'm not surprised Fremantle got rolled because, like the fans, the players would have been watching it. They would have had one eye on the monitor in the whole warm-up, and it would have been a real roller coaster emotion. So they would have been a bit fatigued, the Freo blokes, because the ups and downs of watching that Carlton St Kilda game, then all of a sudden they realised, oh shit, we're back in it. Like they were halfway home. Fremantle, they would have given up, and instead they come out and Port Adelaide beats them. Port Adelaide are a really good team, but I think Fremantle's the unluckiest team in the competition.
Oh, come on, JB.
Well, they've played the three top sides in the last 4 weeks, and they've lost their three key pillars. They lost Alex Pearce, their gun all-Australian calibre fullback, Sean Darcy, the ruckman, and Josh Tracy, who's on the same level of Jesse Hogan the last 8 weeks of the season.
That is shit luck, dog. You've got to admit
it's bad luck, isn't it, dog? Otherwise, they'd be playing finals. They lost their last 4 games.
Yeah, Essendon by a point. Cats by 11 points. The Giants by 9 points. Look, they got close, competitive. But ultimately they put themselves in a position to play finals and even top 4, and then to lose your last 4. And yes, in footy there's a little bit of luck involved in winning those those close games, but there's a lot of science and structure and discipline around them too, and that's how the Pies won the flag last year.
Yeah,
because they won those close games. They only need to win one of the last four, and they play finals, and they could not get the job
If you
done.
don't have your best players, though, it's bloody hard against the good teams to win. You look at like Hawthorn are flying; they're going really well, but they played Richmond and North Melbourne the last 2 weeks.
I know, but Port Adelaide at home, losing Charlie Dixon, very winnable game for Freo. Don't you think?
Yeah, winnable, but their midfield, Port Adelaide's midfield is as good as anyone. Like, Jason Horne-Francis with the new Dangerfield.
Isn't he a star?
He could rip apart of September like Dangerfield did in 2022, couldn't he? And potentially they could be matched up against each other for periods of the game.
Old man
next
Danger ain't
Thursday
going to go
night.
anywhere near the Horn-Francis, unfortunately.
You reckon?
Well, mate, he would break past Dangerfield like it was going
He's
out of
gone
fashion.
past him, you reckon?
Yeah, he's gone past him.
He hits the scoreboard too, which
Does.
I love. Yeah, because he only gets 24 touches,
Yeah.
but kicks 2.
The last 3 weeks, he's had 20 plus and kicked 2 goals.
And the difference, Dangerfield kicks it like me, which isn't a good thing, and Horn-Francis kicks it
beautiful
like
kick.
Andrew McLeod.
I'm going to give you blokes a stat, right? This is probably the most underrated footballer in the competition right now. If I said that to you, who would you say, Dino, if I said to you, who's had a huge year but isn't getting the plaudits that potentially others are?
Lance Whitnell. John, who would you say?
Who's not getting the plaudits? I like John Newcomb.
Yeah.
Probably starting to get some plaudits recently. He had a bad start to the season, so he's really building.
Broads?
David Wirapunda.
Oh, you blokes are f***ing idiots. I'm very rarely am I serious on this podcast.
No, sorry.
I asked the first serious question in a long
I'm
time.
sorry.
And you pull out Lance Armstrong, you pull out David Wirapunda. Thanks for being...
John Newcomb.
Yeah, okay. So there's only 2 players in the history of the game that have had over 30 goals, kicked 30 goals, had over 30 goal assists and 400 plus disposals. Right?
Wow.
There's only 2 in the history of the game. Acker in 2004 kicked 44, had 44 goal assists and 497 disposals. Huge year, right? Dylan Moore this year from the Hawks.
Yeah.
Right?
Really?
He's kicked 35 goals. He's had 31 goal assists and 442 disposals. He's in rare air. He will be an All-Australian half-forward flank. And the only other person that got close to that, and he was desperately close, was Dusty in 17. He kicked 37 goals, had 744 disposals and 29 goal assists. So he missed that category because of 1 goal assist. But
my God.
You're getting compared to Acker and Dusty and you're Dylan Moore. What a year.
Can I use that tonight on the couch?
Yep, use it.
Can I
But
use
I
that?
want you to reference the brown dog. Don't say my actual
I
name.
need attribution.
Yeah,
So how am I going to
always.
say it?
Always, if you do an
Yeah,
essay,
hey,
you take
dog.
a quote, you need to
Yeah.
write a little footnote down the
Okay,
bottom.
yeah,
So the dog
true.
gave me this on Brownie's podcast.
Yeah, I
Then you
like
can plug-
I
then you
like
can
that.
plug all of
the
us.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dog gave me this on Brownie's podcast.
There you go.
Beautiful.
Because that's
But
rare
John,
air.
It was a
John, make
succulent
sure
stat.
you do what Campbell did and said, do the quiz. Like, who do you know there was only 2 plays in history? Really ramp up the drama.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
I
Yeah,
like
but-
that. Could be on the couch shouts. We do a little segment, 3rd segment, couch shouts.
Great.
So I got this from the Brown Dog. I
Yep.
love it. No, they were. That's a good one. Dylan, they got some good, dangerous nipsies, haven't they? Ginnivan,
Nipsies.
Moore.
Connor McDonald.
Hang on.
Yeah, that's
Did you just
a
call
word.
them Nipsies?
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah,
What do you
nips-
mean?
Nippy little players. You know,
Yeah.
they're nippy. You know, they're quick. So,
Yeah.
It
mate,
sounds like something Gollum would say.
No, Triple M, that's a Triple M word because
Yeah. Yeah.
and they nearly got fraught with danger because it was offensive to, like, who though? Not gypsies, because they're nipsies.
Yeah, nipsies, nippy players. So, you know, little nippies, in and unders, little small forwards. And the other one, too, is Connor McDonald. He's very good as well. So, and the one thing you've got to be careful when you come up against Hawthorn, watch the lowering of the body height because they are the best at drawing a head-high free kick, their small forwards, which means they haven't a shot at goal.
Yep, absolutely.
They do
Dog-
it well.
Dog
do,
and
they
John.
do they train for it?
Yep. Anything that they can get a small 1% advantage in, they train for it.
So, honestly, with
Jack
down at
Ginnivan
Hawthorn,
takes that session each week.
Hey, listen to me, both of you.
Yes.
Hawthorn are going to murder the doggies. I know
No,
it's final.
mate.
All right, fine. I'm just saying right now, because you're ignoring all stats and the last 2 months of how they're going. Final schminals, Hawthorn are going to murder the dogs.
I'm worried because the one thing that has caused them problems this year are big, strong key position forwards. Jesse Hogan kicked a bag on them to beat them. They've got Darcy, who this could be his Buddy Franklin 2008
Against Adelaide.
moment, or that was in 07, but remember 08, he kicked 8 in the qualifying final
Oh,
in
yes,
Dale Mine.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, this could be his 2007 coming of age as a key forward.
Yeah.
And they've got Norton as well as a nice little foil. It just makes me a fraction nervous that, the Hawks' ball movement and offense has been great. I know their defense has been good, but two big key position forwards, that'd keep Sammy Mitchell up at night.
Well, they might have Liam Jones on the sidelines. He may get suspended with the slam tackle.
They've adapted to every opponent in the last 2 months. There's no difference. They're killing teams,
I know.
And doggies are their next victim.
You are their number one supporter, just about.
I'm so excited. I can't believe you're not.
I
am.
The way it shapes up too, the two Melbourne teams, it's favourable for them outside the top four, Bulldogs and Hawthorn, because theoretically they play MCG, Sydney, MCG. So they're essentially at home for the month of September, maybe a little short trip up to Sydney. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch. So it's end up a favourable draw to win it from outside the top four for the two Melbourne clubs.
There is going to be an ESPN doco about this season for Hawthorn after they win the flag. There we go.
Yeah, if they win it, it'll be the greatest premiership win in the history of the sport. I'm talking better than the Doggies in 16. I'm talking better than the Baby Bombers in 93. There will be nothing like what Hawthorn has produced this season.
The only thing I'll say,
Yes.
I've never seen a group, win a grand final without playing in finals previously.
Yeah.
Now, you can't include individual players like Bruce and Gunston. Yes, I get it, they've been there. But I'm talking about the core of the group have never been on final series. We've never seen it.
No.
Where they've run the table and then they end up going and winning the grand final. So I'd be I'd be shocked if they won the grand final. Not saying they can't make it to the grand final, but I'd be shocked.
This is one time where naivety is actually a positive. They've got just the arrogance of youth a little bit.
Okay.
They don't know what they don't know, and
Yes.
they're just playing and having fun, and they're a really tight knit group. So it's going to be a special September.
I tell you, interesting too. I did the Hawthorn North game with Bucks. And it was just, even though 120 points is normally boring, it was actually fun to watch Hawthorn. It wasn't fun for Cam Mooney. This was his day. So Cam was the sideline reporter. He left Melbourne Airport, first flight out down to Launceston. They got over Launceston and it was too foggy. They had to circle, wouldn't land the plane, so they sent them back to Tullamarine Airport, landed at Tullamarine, but then the passengers weren't allowed off the flight. They sat on the tarmac for an hour, then had another crack at it, then flew down to Launceston and then got off the plane. Landed. It got about 4 hours. Moons got there halfway through the third quarter. Did he? By that stage...
Who was doing boundary?
No one did the boundary. By that stage... Mate, the game, it's 80 points of difference, so we crossed the Cam Mooney all of 3 times.
That is amazing.
That's a shit.
I love it when that sort of shit happens to someone. The very first time Gold Coast played Hawthorn down in Lonnie, we got diverted to Hobart, right? And then had to get a bus back to Lonnie, which is not ideal. It's probably
a couple of hours.
Yeah, 3 or 4 hours, which is annoying, but we never got circuit around and got sent back home. So have a shit one, Moons.
Hey, ads. We'll be back in a second. We'll call Sticks. Okay, back in a second. Welcome back to Brownie's Podcast, at Brownie's Podcast on TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff. Now, John, you let slip just now that you went to an intimate dinner with the great Razor Ray Chamberlain. True or false? Who was there?
Absolutely, yeah. I bought it at an auction. No, I was there. I was there with a good mate of mine who's close friends with Razor Ray. He's wonderful company. I was there with our good friend Polly Dino, who's obviously had a tragic few weeks, but had plenty of laughs. Big Razor Ray was on fire, and he's just retired. 48 years old. 48 years young, I should say.
Yeah, he's had a great career.
Night. Yeah, had a great career. You know, he did. He was telling me. He did the GWS Richmond Grand Final in 2019, and he had all these cashies lined up because he didn't think he was going to get the Grand Final. Well, mate, he gets the Grand Final. So all of a sudden, but the CFMEU function they run on a Saturday morning of Grand Final was too lucrative to him. So he thought, I've still got to slip it in. So he did the CFMEU function on the way to the ground.
No, he did
not. Left the car running out the front.
That is extraordinary.
And then quickly did the quick function. and then jumped out into the car, into the MCG.
Well, you can't be letting Johnny Setker down, can you?
Yeah, well, exactly right. Mick Caddo was in the front row. Johnny Setker was there. So.
Campbell would be a big Setker man. I love the tattoo he got around his neck.
Yeah, man.
It's as
God
iconic.
forgives, but the CFMEU doesn't.
It's
is
as
iconic.
It's as good as Benny Cousins Such His Life, which he got off the great Ned Kelly.
John, yeah.
Yes.
How did Razor make... Because I'm sure Razor's doing fine. Like, how did he make money before being an umpire? Because it went professional when he was still in his 40s.
He's a mortgage broker, but he's worked his whole way through. So he's been an umpire for the best part of 20 years.
And I think they do financial services as well now. Haven't they expanded
Financial
out?
services, I think.
Like
He's on fire, the big fella. So I'll tell you what I don't agree. Now, Razor's a great example. Razor's a great decision maker, but what held him back was his ability to bounce the ball. Now, that gets... almost supersedes the decision making of umpires and has a big bearing on whether umpires do finals or grand finals. So, it really shouldn't come into play. If you've got a gun bouncer, he should just do the bounce every time.
Exactly. If you've got one that can do it each per game, that's fine. And then just have that person do it. And then it doesn't matter about the other umpires. They didn't need to be able to bounce the ball, particularly if it's wet. If it's at the G and there's a little bit of rain, they're not bouncing it anyway.
Well, that's
In
right,
terms of what's important, what do you care about? Good decision making for 3 hours or the stupid bounce that doesn't happen much?
Yeah.
Spot on.
Exactly right.
Absolutely. It's the decision making. What about the umpire abuse? That's an interesting one, isn't it? They've certainly let that go, haven't they, the last couple of years?
Yeah.
I reckon partly to do with the umpires didn't really like it.
Well, no one
because they're the
liked
ones that cop the abuse.
It's an emotional game, and players need to be able to express that split second of anger or frustration without being overly demonstrative. If you're saying something personal, we're all grown men. You take it. You don't need to be blowing the whistle and giving 50-metre penalties for things like that. So I'm glad that has gone out of the game, because no one wants to see a game decided because a player's put his hands up in frustration.
Yeah.
I remember my old man sat me down only 3 or 4 or 5 years ago and said, son, you can do whatever you want in life. You can study, you can travel, you can, if you like men, you can bring home a guy, and you can be gay, you can be bi, you can be transgender. He said, you can do whatever you want in life and you'll have my full support. Just don't be a fucking umpire.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
How many times he rolled that story on the podcast, right? Every time. This time
you heard that before?
Yeah, absolutely.
15. Truly 15.
Edit it out.
I think I've cut it out every time.
He just goes to the well. We've
been doing it that long enough, forgot. Edit it out.
Hey, wait. So was Razor on the Reds? What was he drinking?
Absolutely.
Tell me what he was drinking.
Ray's had a Red Bull. He's in the off-season now. I said, mate, you got 12 months of grace. You can just fatten up a little bit, Razor Ray, because those boys have got to keep bloody fit. Best story he tells, and he rolled it out again for me last night. I said, best sledge you've copped, and he said, the best sledge he copped ever was the Dingo Razor. And then someone yelled out from across it might have been Carlton spotter, the Dingo took the wrong Chamberlain.
That's strong.
That's a good sledge, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure Lindy'd be absolutely wrapped hearing that.
Hey, now teams are on Mad. Teams are on Mad Monday, boys. 10 teams are on Mad Monday. Dressed up, outfit. What's your favourite memory from Mad Monday, Brown Dogs?
Well, I like to dress up as a Catholic priest and go to Mad Monday because I'm a very spiritual guy, obviously. Yeah. My favourite Mad Monday was when you organised the pig races for us up there on the Gold Coast.
Right. And it all ends well. The pigs are safe.
Yeah, they're safe. Yeah, no, it's all done professionally.
It's the race. It's the race to the dish of milk.
Yeah.
That's how they get them to chase.
And we just bet on it, but...
Brody, it's good for the pigs.
It's
if
good
anything.
for the pigs.
He's just
Exactly.
giving
It's
it milk.
exercise.
I'm glad that over half of my career, Mad Mondays, like things like Instagram and social media didn't exist for most of it.
Yeah.
But in the back end, when I was up at the Gold Coast, I had this beautiful photo. Like the club I took, right? At Metricon Stadium in the background, and all the players, all 50 of us from the Gold Coast dressed up as Ninja Turtles and, whatever it was. And only 2 years ago, I had a call from the AFLPA, and they demanded that I take that photo down. I had to scroll all the way down to the bottom of my Instagram, right? Because I only started in 2011. Because you remember Joel Wilkinson from the Suns? Yeah, part of his gripe with the AFL was some of the dress-ups on that particular day. So I had to remove it from Instagram as part of the healing process.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it wasn't sort of Fev level, was it?
Nah.
Fev with the
not with the
purple
dildo. Nah.
Well, no, John, come on. Look, don't cheapen Fev's performance that day. It was a bucket hat, it was a 90, and it was a 12-inch cock. On Collins Street in the middle of the city.
Yeah,
I've heard that
Sort of
because
just broke confidentiality from what I've just done then, but it. I don't care.
Well done.
I've heard that.
Good luck with that.
I've heard that your man Fly, because Collingwood haven't made the finals, he has banned dress up day on Mad Monday. So
No.
they cannot
Really?
dress up this Mad Monday. They have to
Bullshit.
go
I
in.
saw him yesterday at Williamstown, Fly.
Yep.
Really? Yes. Well,
Yep. They've got to go in plain clothes because they
What
didn't
would you
make
dress up
finals.
as if we were going to Mad Monday today? What would you dress up as? I know who I would.
My favourite at the actual time of leading it was I went one year as Amon Buchanan, premiership player at Sydney. He was playing for the Lions. He wanted to go as a wrestler, so I said, "We'll go your favourite wrestler." He went as Hulk Hogan. I went as the Ultimate Warrior. He used to love the Ultimate Warrior. Remember the Ultimate
I
Warrior?
do.
Yeah, and so Kyle's, she got us all organised. She went to Spotlight and went shopping. She made our costumes for us. But the thing is, though, the wrestlers of the 80s, mate, tanned up, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, Kyle's obviously had the spray tan kit at home. She had the spray gun. And to get the right level of spray tan for the Ultimate Warrior, it took 3 coats. And I said to Kyle's, "Will this wash off?" She goes, "Yeah, no, it'll be fine." It didn't wash off, mate. It didn't wash off for 3 weeks. I was orange. It was unbelievable. Geez, we looked good turning up to the nightclub. After Mad Monday was done, and we end up rolling into the nightclub dressed as the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan.
That's
at
nice,
the
man.
Backpackers
That's nice.
Bar, mate. It was appreciated by the bouncers.
Dog, I'd have a police officer strapped to me, and I'd be dressed like Jack Carlton, and I'd be going as Mr. Succulent Chinese.
Would you?
meal and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's a good one.
I saw a guy last year that was dressed up. It was from our old footy club. Was dressed up as Andrew O'Keefe and had one of the Deal or No Deal suitcases.
Oh, yeah, great
Nice.
one. Great one.
Oh,
Dogs,
yeah. Remember the Blue Oyster Bar from Police
Yes.
Academy?
Yes.
One of the boys came as one of the characters out of the Blue Oyster Bar, yet his leather pants had a big hole cut out of the arse.
Oh, that's nice.
So it was just there. I thought it was good memory. Good memory.
I
I'm not going
reckon
to say who it was.
I reckon I'd go as
Very reputable
Dino Abu Bakir al Baghdadi, and then I'd have a dog as well because he died like a dog. That's my favourite Trump saying.
He's gone mad.
What
He's
just
gone mad,
happened,
this
Brody?
man.
Can someone take me through? So is he a political figure that was taken
Why
out?
do you always shake your head every time I open my mouth?
Because I'm the one that has to cut all of this crap, and it takes me so bloody long because there's like,
Wait.
I'm already up to 6 that I've got
Do
to
we
cut.
have to cut? Do we have to cut that one out?
I don't
Was
know what
that,
it means, but I usually err on the side of caution because I know it's not going to be good.
Was that the Irani leader that he bombed when he was in?
Yeah.
But that wasn't even this year.
He
You
got him with a
psychopath.
drone. No, I'd go as Ray Gun.
Ray Gun.
Yeah.
I tell you, there'd be a lot of blokes going as Ray
Yeah.
Gun this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of ray
And
guns.
doing
Maybe
the
too
dance.
many.
Hey,
You
tell
know,
me
you
about
want
that.
something-
How's that gritty going? Have we
I'm
got the
not
gritty?
doing it.
I got the gritty down. Well, you said it was bad. You said it was terrible this morning.
I'm doing the gritty. I'm committed to
Same.
it. Brown dog, you can do
Mate,
it?
I've been watching Justin Jefferson do it on
Yes.
receiver.
Yes, nice. Okay, we're doing the gritty. We're
Yeah.
putting that up
Can
this
I-
week, aren't we,
Yeah.
Beck?
We are.
Can you someone show me what it is, dog? Do you mind?
It's
or
just
is it too
I
hard?
can't really do it that well, but it's just like a dance, you know, like
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
so
yeah,
you
yeah. I'm
get
watching
your
it.
two feet.
Dino, your
goes
level
in.
of commitment to this has been poor. We've been speaking about it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you've done
No,
prep, you haven't
hey,
done your homework.
Mate,
Listen to me,
You're
you
not
sons
doing
of
homework.
bitches.
You're not committed to this podcast.
In my defense, you did this whole thing in the episode I wasn't here, so I'm just observing this one. All right,
you know,
just breaking my balls.
Beck's sending stuff out on the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
She's sending examples of the gritty. We've told you about the receiver and Justin Jefferson. No excuse, no excuse,
gritty.
Dean.
Oh, gritty.
I'm constantly doing homework week to week, leading into this
gritty.
podcast. You know, like
Ads.
if we gave you homework for Childish Dino, would you do it?
Of course,
Probably. Ads. Back in a second. Welcome back to Brownie's podcast. So there's a bye this. When is the footy back, John? Just for me.
Next Thursday.
Yeah,
Okay.
Port Adelaide hosts Geelong. Then Friday night is obviously Hawthorn, Western Bulldogs, MCG. Then the Saturday game is GWS Sydney and Brisbane Carlton.
I'm yet to float with my boss whether I can go to the Port game and just miss work the next day. That is big. A home Port final against
you should go.
Geelong. That is
Brother,
that's
just go.
Do it
Your
and ask
team
questions
can,
later.
Any
you're a
chance of straight
producer,
sits?
This will be our 3rd year in a row for straight sets, which would be.
jeez.
I'm very used to them. It's become a big part of my life, straight sets exits, and I can't do it again. Emotionally, I can't do it again.
This year's different, I think.
All right, so
Dog, time for.
What a world. And this What a World, I'm going to go into great depth, and there's a topic attached to it, because on Saturday night I made my way to the Country Victorian Racehorse of the Year Awards, right? 650 people at Lumiere in the Melbourne Convention Centre.
How much did you make for it?
Sit-down dinner. No, I just went there as part of the SEN track contingent.
Who won it, by the way? The Country Racehorse.
I left. Yeah. I left in protest, and I'll tell you why. Yes. Because halfway through the evening, Nigel Carmody was emceeing. He's Channel 7 VFL commentator, a good friend of mine, and he introduced the Nelson twins, who are famous Australian comedians. They got the long hair, they got the long beard. They come out with an Australian tracksuit, and they tell jokes. They're inappropriate. They're mainly, dick jokes and things like that. And they bounce off each other. 20-minute set. I've done a few gigs with them before, mainly in local footy clubs, real sort of sporties. This is the first time I'd actually seen them on the big stage.
I wouldn't have thought that's probably the best crowd, the country racing awards.
Well,
right?
they're
of older folk there.
Older demographic, and a lot of the chairmen of racing clubs, Terang and Warrnambool, they bring their wives.
Yeah.
Dog, just give me so I can imagine. Are we talking Rodney Rude territory, Kevin Bloody Wilson, or are they a bit more nuanced, or like give me
probably in between Kevin Bloody Wilson and Rodney Rude.
Gotcha.
Very self-deprecating, their humour.
Gotcha.
Talking a lot about being twins and what that means. One of them got a larger appendage than the other, and they're identical twins. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. And halfway through their set, probably 3/4 of the way through their set, they were losing the crowd.
Oh no!
You could just tell that some of the gags just weren't hitting the mark. The laughter wasn't there, and
so they went deep.
So as a comedian, I've seen Lawrence Mooney do it. You've only got two options, right? you end your set early, which you can't do, or you dive deep down into your trick book and you get a little bit ruder and grubbier and a little bit more outrageous, right? Which Lawrence Mooney did at the Carbine Club lunch last year.
Yeah.
And that's fraught with a bit of danger, because if you're missing the mark the first time around, now there's a real chance that you're going to miss the mark. So they doubled down on some of their humour. And it got to a point where someone in the crowd, he had his Will Smith moment at the Oscars. He stormed the stage. None of us knew what was going on. Older gentleman. He grabbed the mic out of Justin Nelson's hand, and he said, "I don't know who booked you, but this is an absolute disgrace." Right?
Jesus.
He said he singled out his wife, right, who they'd made not remarks about her, but about maybe where she was from. And he said, "And this is a disgrace. And you blokes, you're not funny. You got no reason that you should be up here. Do your homework before you come to an event like this. Get off." And he handed the mic back. He stormed off the stage, and the crowd was like, "Oh, whoa! I've never seen it in 20 years of my life." And they then said. 20 years of my life. I'm 40, but in the 20 years I've been going to comedian gigs. And then they said, "Put your hands together if you want us to keep going, yeah!" And I was like, "Yeah!" And no one else in the room started clapping. And then the boss got up, and he just shooed them off. He waved them off, and they left the stage. And guess who the first person they messaged backstage was? It was 9:17, and they messaged me and said, "Do they want an encore?" And I was like, "Wow, what just happened?" That was unbelievable. And
did since they have your number, was it you that organised this?
No, I didn't organise it. It made the Channel 7 news last night, and the guy, I was like, whoever's organised it, they're going to get the sack. There's going to be an investigation. The guy that organised it was just made redundant about 2 months ago, so it was his farewell. It was a big up yours, I reckon. So that to me was what a world. I witnessed it, and it just poses the question.
And for it to make the news as well.
Made the 7 News. Might have been a part of that. Man. It just poses the question. And Dino, you wrote some of Pang's jokes at the Logies.
Yes.
Where's humour gone in Australia, right? Because there's 650 people in the room. If one is offended, does he have the right to storm the stage and interrupt and stop the procedure if one person's offended? What if the majority of the room was enjoying it? I know on this occasion it was probably 50-50.
Clearly they were, because you're the only one that applauded.
It sounded like the guy calling him off may have been reading the room.
I think he was reading the room, but I just want to pose the question. I'm not saying who's in the right or who's in the wrong, but what a world.
Very good, what a world.
Unbelievable,
I think
man.
the talent booker needs to probably look a bit closely at his audience next time.
Yeah, I agree. And the bloke that interrupted is from Warrnambool, and we know that people from Warrnambool have no senses of humour.
All right, degenerates, talk to you very soon.
Right, I'll see ya.